Hi there, I'm Michelle Burrows, Director of A+ Schools of North Carolina, and I'd like to welcome you to the Arts Are for Life Virtual Professional Development Series. This series is a collaboration between the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the North Carolina Arts Council, and A+ Schools of North Carolina. Welcome to the first of the 4 arts integration modules in this series. In each arts integration module, we will consider arts integration in general, and then zoom in on one specific art form for some examples, thinking, and resources. As you view this module, you may need to adjust your computer's volume for the various video segments of the module. You can also always pause the video and rewind if you've missed something or if you need a sound adjustment. Now let's get started by thinking about arts integration. Here's a clip of Mary Siebert, Arts Director for the Arts-Based School in Winston-Salem, one of the schools in the A+ Schools network. We'll let Mary get us started thinking about arts integration.
We don't integrate everything. Where it doesn't make sense, we don't do it. But there's enough of it that there's change and an opportunity for problem solving and creativity that keeps them stimulated. They're not just taking in an adult point of view. They get to solve the problems themselves and then express them using something other than just a pencil or a computer.
So what is arts integration? Let's take a look at some different definitions of arts integration. As you listen, see if you hear similarities across the various definitions, and also think about how the definitions connect to your own thoughts about arts integration.
Sequential arts learning experiences that weave ideas and concepts between and among arts and non-arts disciplines, effectively advancing knowledge and skills in an arts discipline while concurrently advancing knowledge and skills in other disciplines.
The term integration is used to denote a variety of ways and intensities with which classroom teachers include the arts. Integration of the arts can occur along a continuum from a small degree at a surface level to total arts infusion throughout the curriculum.
Arts integration is the use of performing and visual arts to help facilitate learning of other non-arts subjects.
Arts integration is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form and another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both.
Arts integration refers to using the arts as a catalyst for learning across the curriculum and in all areas of learning. In addition to offering a rigorous course of study in their distinct disciplines, dance, music, theater arts, and visual arts, the arts are a powerful tool for learning throughout the curriculum.
Despite the lack of consensus on any one definition, there appear to be categories of definitions that are syntheses of definitions in action. For this review, we've created 3 categories: arts integration as learning through and with the arts, arts integration as a curricular connections process, and arts integration as collaborative engagement. As you can see, there are many different definitions for arts integration, even though you probably have identified some overlapping ideas. Take a moment and consider what your own definition for arts integration is, and whether your current definition is impacted by any of these definitions you just heard. Pause the video here to consider your own definition, and if you're watching with colleagues, take a minute to discuss each of your own definitions. Hit play when you're ready to start the video again. Let's think for a few moments about the why behind arts integration. This blog post from American Association of Educators may be a few years old, but it's still very relevant to the conversation as we consider the benefits of arts integration. The article states that even as arts programs are increasingly falling under the axe of limited school budgets, teachers are increasingly integrating arts into the non-arts content areas. The concept behind arts integration is nothing new. Teachers have been having students build models, perform plays, sing songs, and complete other various arts activities for years. But now there's a growing body of evidence to support those practices. Integrating the arts not only has the easily observed and undisputed benefit of increasing student engagement and motivation, but it's also been shown to increase student achievement. Students who participate in drama activities in their language arts class increase their written language ability, and an English language learner's abilities are also increased when the arts are integrated into their instruction. In fact, a curriculum rich in arts integration activities has been linked to across-the-board achievement and retention increases. These achievements have been shown to benefit the student even after they leave a classroom that utilizes arts integration. Research suggests that the link to increased retention is due to the fact that each time a student uses information in a new and different way, they embed the information slightly more into their brain. The link to this article will be listed under this module's resources on the NC DPI Arts Ed Wiki space. If our goal as educators is for our students to become knowledgeable, critical thinkers who are good at solving problems, then we need to look at the how of teaching and learning. As educators, we need to stimulate curiosity, teach children to analyze problems on their own, and let them practice solving these problems creatively. We need to help them experience, express, absorb, remember, and apply skills, and the arts are the catalyst for doing this. An article from the Responsive Classroom lists 6 powerful reasons for using arts integration. First, the arts make content more accessible for all types of learners. The arts also encourage joyful, active learning. They help students make and express personal connections to content. The arts help students understand and express abstract concepts. They stimulate high-level thinking. And finally, they build community and help students to develop collaborative skills. An interesting article in Forbes magazine this year asked CEOs from some of the 2017 100 Best Businesses to Work For what skills they're seeking in their employees. These are some of the skills that they shared. Creativity and curiosity, ability to learn from mistakes, personal communication skills, adaptability and the ability to thrive in ambiguity, collaborative skills, an open and inclusive mindset, and the ability to lead themselves and others. Many of these CEOs stated that they could teach the technical skills, but that it is these so-called soft skills that they are most seeking. I heard Sam Houston, President and CEO of the North Carolina Math, Science, and Technology Education Center, once state that these soft skills should really be called today's critical skills. Let's take a moment to process this. I want you to think about the last lesson or activity that you either used in your own classroom or that you observed in someone else's class. Which of these critical skills did you see in action? Did you see students using their creativity? Perhaps they were working collaboratively. Or maybe you saw students working in ambiguity, trying to figure out what to do when they weren't sure what to do. Pause the video here and either discuss with your viewing colleagues or jot down your thoughts to this question. Which critical skills are your students most frequently engaged in? And in which of these skills do your students need more engagement? Go ahead and pause the video and chat or jot, and when you're ready, start the video again. Let's also take a moment and connect these skills back to the revised Bloom's taxonomy. In this image, we can see that the critical skills that we just discussed are embedded within the revised Bloom's taxonomy, both in the verbs that are listed and in the processes behind the verbs. Pause here if you need to refresh yourself on the revised Bloom's taxonomy, then start again when you're ready. And if you want a deeper refresher on the revised Bloom's taxonomy, Module 3 in this series, Raise the Roof, has a very nice review. Pause if you want, restart when you're ready. All right, and now that we've done a bit of framing of the whys of arts integration, let's get ready to zoom in a little deeper with integrating dance. Let's start by taking a look at a sample of dance integration with Jan Adams, A+ Fellow and Dance Educator at the Arts-Based School.
Hi, I'm Jan Adams from Arts-Based School. When we start working on integrated curricula units, with teachers, one of the first things that we want to do is make sure that we are going back to our standard course of study, both in the arts and in the core disciplines. If, for instance, I am doing some type of a unit, a science unit with second grade on the water cycle, I'm looking not only at the units that are dealing with the science standards, but I'm also looking for the dance standards, primarily in energy, and looking at qualities of movement. I'm looking at flow of movement and pathways. And so we, in addition to creating the different pieces of the water cycle, we're beginning to build the common vocabulary in those different units. Remember, the last time that you were with me, we started talking about the water cycle. So tell me really quickly something that you know about the water cycle. Yeah.
Evaporation.
Tell me what it is. Exactly. So what you were about to do is you were about to dance your own water cycle, and you may start anywhere you want because it's a cycle. But once you've started, you must do it in these orders. This is your one, followed by condensation, followed by the precipitation, and finally the runoff.
And then
Yes.
starts all over
And then it
over
starts
and
all
and
over
and
again.
over.
Whisper to your partner and decide which one you want to start with. Talk to your partner with your eyes to let them know when to go. I see some and to the next stage, go. And to the next stage. And to the next stage. And freeze right where you are. Float your bodies back over here. Thank you, thank you. Talk to your partner about one thing that you noticed from your partner about that particular scene. You finish.
Let's take a moment and go back to these skills that the CEOs identified as critical in their employees. Which of these skills did you see students engaged in during that short clip? Let's think about their personal communication skills. You saw Jan model that with her whisper to your partner where you want to start in the cycle. And again, when she asked students to use their eyes to let their partner know when they were ready to start. In both of these instances, students were building their communication skills. Jan was also using these techniques as management tools to keep the students engaged, calm, and focused. You also saw a level of thriving in ambiguity as students moved through the sequence without prescribed motions and had to use their creativity to decide what each section of the cycle looked like through movement. Keeping your connection to these critical skills in mind as you make your plans for integrated learning will help to assure that your students are learning through, exploring, and engaging in ways that are crucial for their 21st century growth and development. Think for a moment now about how this example of arts integration compares to your personal definition of arts integration. You may want to pause the video for a moment to consider this or talk with your colleagues. When you're ready, hit play to restart the video. Now take a minute to think about which standards you saw in action during the example with Jan's second graders. You might want to pause the video again and open a second browser window. Type in the NC state standards or the standards for your own state if you aren't viewing from North Carolina, and see if you can find some of the arts and non-arts standards that were both being used in this example. Pause the video if you'd like, do some research, and press play when you're ready to continue. Here are North Carolina's science standards for second grade. If you took a moment to take a look, or if you teach second grade, you've probably discovered that two standards would both connect to the learning about the water cycle. Developing understanding of solids and liquids and understanding weather patterns both relate to learning about the water cycle. Now let's look at the dance essential standards from North Carolina. While there are many dance standards that would fit with this lesson, the choreography standards seem clearest in the sample. Starting your integrated lesson planning with standards is the key to a deep and meaty integrated lesson. When you seek out art standards and use them in concert with your non-art standards, or when you seek out non-art standards to use in concert with your art standards, you're assuring that each integrated lesson will be standards-based. Let's also take a look at some dance elements and vocabulary. Vocabulary is a great connecting point for beginning an integrated process. Take a look at this list of dance elements and vocabulary. Thinking about the water cycle dance lesson, which vocabulary words do you see here that would be connected? Jan's students were using both locomotor and non-locomotor movement, stretching, bending, and suspending in non-locomotor or non-traveling movements, and running, leaping, and turning as they traveled or used locomotor movement. You also saw students working with timing as they explored the sequence of the water cycle, adapting their movements to each part of the sequence. And they were exploring levels with high, medium, and low level movements. Preceding or following student learning experiences with connected vocabulary is a great way to enter into or strengthen integrated work. Connected vocabulary helps students to bridge concepts and content across disciplines and creates deeper understanding. Now think about a standard that you teach and take a look again at these dance elements and vocabulary. Can you find any words that would connect with your standard? Take a moment and consider these connections or share with colleagues you're viewing with. Pause if you need to and then play again when you're ready. Okay, here's another sample lesson. This one comes from the Kennedy Center's lesson plan site. In this lesson, dance is paired with a study of human body systems. Here are the science and dance objectives for the lesson. Students will discover and create movement patterns that express information about the basic systems, organs, and processes of the human body. Students will make inquiries through research and movement experimentation into the ways in which the body systems work and how those systems interact. Students will work alone, in pairs, and/or in small groups to make movement choices that communicate scientific concepts in creative movement. In these objectives, you see that both the dance and the science standards are embedded within the objectives. Here are the dance standards that are being used for this lesson. Pause if you need to read through them all, and then hit play again when you're ready to continue on. And here are the science standards that are being integrated with the dance standards. Again, pause if you need to in order to read through them all, then hit play when you're ready. Take a look at this video of a final version of student product. As you watch, see if you could define any of the body systems that the students are sharing.
And strike pose. Hold it, out. Control. Keep it serious. And that's their end. Come on back as far. You all leave the stage. Next group going up. They're filling in the transition for you all. As soon as they're focused and in place, then you all leave. Don't leave when they're in place. Good. Excellent. Perfect. Focus. Excellent. Beautiful, Delisa. Pay attention and focus. Know what you're doing. You got serious? Really wonderful. Good. Very good. Beautiful. Yeah. Great. Loving it. Yes. Perfect.
Now that you've viewed this student product, let's take a look at those body systems again. How do you think the students did in expressing their system? Could you identify any of the systems? Could you see the various parts of any of those systems? What types of assessment information about the science content might you gather as the teacher from these student products? What types of feedback could students give to each other that is specific to the science content? Assessing the depth of student learning and understanding for each content area is an important part of integrated work. Let's go back to the dance elements and vocabulary again and see which dance elements the students were working with. Again, you see both locomotor and non-locomotor movements. And again, you see students exhibiting examples of high, medium, and low-level movement. In these student products, you can also see some great examples of energy, especially in the groups that were using push and pull or heavy and light movements. These elements of dance, along with the dance vocabulary, helped students to create movement phrases that were interesting to view and still content-rich. Let's also go back to the dance standards integrated with the science standards in this lesson and see how the students did in meeting those standards. You may not have observed the problem solving that took place prior to the sharing part of this lesson, but you can definitely see students working on control and focus. And you can hear the teacher reinforcing focus to support students in controlling their nervous energy as they perform and maintaining their artistic focus. Clearly, students were also using a variety of spatial designs and relationships, and that might be a standard that could be better assessed using post-sharing student reflection. We already talked about the students' use of locomotor and non-locomotor movement in their sequences as we shared the connections to the dance elements and vocabulary. And finally, students had created dances that communicated abstract ideas. Students can observe how a body system works in real life and can't travel through their own digestive system or respiratory system, but communicating how these systems work using their bodies and the dance elements helps to create both body memory and a visual representation of an abstract concept. In this video, you didn't see the work done by the teacher and students that led up to the final sharing of the students' dances, nor are you seeing the after-sharing reflection and unpacking of the work. But viewing the actual student product provides a great way to consider how the science and dance standards were blended together to create an engaging, creative, and standards-rich experience for the learners. And finally, thinking back again to those critical skills, could you see the creative thinking, collaboration, and adaptability in action? Also consider the level of student engagement, the type of critical thinking students were using, and the Bloom's verbs that students were experiencing. Now think about how this student experience was similar and different from the student experience in Jan's sample video. As you can see, integrated experiences can be used as assessment of learning either prior to engaging in new content, as new content is being learned and explored and understanding is being developed, or as a final assessment of learning. Remember also that there is a continuum of arts integration that allows entry points for all types of teachers. It's important to note that both of the example videos took place in a dance room with a dance teacher, but this type of integration can just as easily be done in a classroom full of furniture with a non-arts teacher facilitating the experience. And remember also that integrating dance works just as well with social studies, math, reading, and writing standards. And integrating dance is also a great way to connect with your visual arts, music, or theater arts standards. Let's pause the video for a moment so you can reflect on dance integration. Either by jotting notes or talking with viewing colleagues, respond to these questions. How might you adapt to using dance in your own classroom? What standards might you start with, both arts and non-art standards? Who is a resource for you as you either get started or strengthen your integration in dance? Take a moment to think through these questions or talk through these questions and press play when you're ready to continue. It's important as you start to integrate or as you strengthen your integration to consider how to manage using the arts and the non-art standards together. These tips from the Teacher Twist website are highly relevant for any teacher who wants to integrate dance into their classroom. Say when before what. This means telling your students when and how they will begin prior to providing the complete instructions. You might start with, in a minute you'll be ... or something like, when I say go, you will be ... This will keep your students in one place as you give your instructions. Allow for a little chaos. Learning through dance involves talking, movement, and action. You'll need to be ready to allow a little controlled chaos in your room. Active learning is, well, active. Challenge your students. If material seems too easy to your students, you'll find it difficult to engage them. Consider how you might adapt your content for varying skill and comfort levels with dance. Live in the moment. Try to relax a little and enjoy watching your students in the creative process. The things they say and do while creating are often priceless and can also provide a window for the teacher into deeper understanding of each student. Dance with your students. Even if you're a little uncomfortable, your students will love it. You don't have to be a dancer to dance with your students. Be clear and concise. Ask for understanding more than once. Chaos can ensue when students don't understand the task. Ask students to share their understanding and have other students confirm whether they're correct. Make rules for dance and remind students of them every time you are getting ready to learn through and with dance. Encourage students to participate in the rule-making process and to remind each other of the rules before starting. And finally, constantly connect to the standards. Dance and non-art standards and vocabulary should be clearly evident in the lesson plot process. Consider where your lesson is on the integration scale. Are you really working at a surface level integration, or are you infusing the arts and valuing the content of both arts and non-art standards? I adapted these a little bit from the Teacher Twist website, but you'll find that link under our resources next to the module on the Arts Ed Wiki space. And as you continue your work with arts integration, resources are always helpful. So in addition to the suggestion of these books, you'll find a resource page just under this module on the NC DPI Arts Education Wiki space. We hope that you find these resources helpful as you continue to develop your learning experiences through the arts. We're going to wrap this module with a return to Mary Siebert and Jan Adams from the Arts-Based School.
All of the same steps that are used in creative processes of any sort are the same processes that students need in the writing process, the scientific process. It's coming up with ideas, organizing those ideas in a meaningful way, refining those ideas through rehearsal, and then be able to publish, present, or perform those ideas.
We want just as much to inspire kids to love and appreciate and participate in the arts if they don't go into the arts as a profession. But that's the audience. And that's also how we express our humanity. It's how we express our current culture.
Having arts classes here has kind of like opened up more possibilities for me to do stuff outside of school. So it feels like it kind of exposes a lot more stuff that I would see.
I mean, arts-based here has gotten me really involved in stuff. I think that they have improved my life. And I'm going to be going back to my third grade teachers and saying, thank you so much for teaching me this.
We thank you for participating in the Arts Are for Life Virtual Professional Development Series. This series is a collaboration between the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the North Carolina Arts Council, and A+ Schools of North Carolina. This concludes the module.